married?
So when we got married, I was actually going to school to earn my associate's degree in biology. Because, like I said before, I wanted to go to medical school, and part of that, or the process to get there, was to get an associate's degree in biology. So that's what I was doing. But on top of like going to school as a full time student, I was also working. Actually, I think his cousin Brittany got me a job working at a hotel so that I would be able to work at night, go to
Mhm.
school during the day. And he didn't mention it, but I believe he was working maybe about like 3 jobs on top of being a full time paramedic student at the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Rion is a natural born hustler. He is a true definition of a worker's man. That man can work. Okay,
Too.
well, so because the reason why I wanted to ask that is because again, you're working in the EMT form. You know, Janelle, you're basically in school, going after the dream in reference to the biology portion of it, and trying to really go after that. Where did this major transition come to where y'all starting your own business?
Oh, that was a long process. 4 years long.
Right.
So I grew up being told that school was the only way to go. If I didn't go to school, I had to go to the military. I wasn't going to be successful. So I was pushing myself really hard, trying to go to school, get my associates, bachelor's, and so on. But while I was going to school, I realized that I wasn't really happy going to school. I was good at
Mm,
it and was able to retain all the information I was learning, but I wasn't happy.
mm,
So to get myself back into um, wanting to become a doctor, I decided to take a break from my associate's degree and start doing a class for certified medical assistant so that I can at least get in the field and work with patients and stuff like that. Then from there, it was really hard getting a job as a certified medical assistant because I was straight out of school and nobody wanted me because I was straight out of school and I didn't have experience. But in order for me to get experience, I had to work as a medical assistant. So that was a long process and I started getting discouraged. But then I got a job at Scott and White working in OB-GYN, and that became really stressful because of COVID and everything that happened.
mm.
And then from there, his sister Ria actually had me cook egg rolls for, I believe it was her birthday one year. And from there, everybody started asking me to make egg rolls and they would buy it. Then I started selling it out of the house. And for years, every time I cooked something for Rion, he would tell me, "You have to sell food. We should start a restaurant." And I didn't listen. I thought my food was just, I thought it was mediocre and that it would not
Mm.
be good enough to sell. I wouldn't be able to make money. And working a 9 to 5 job was safe to me. And I thought that we would be able to continue doing that. And, the money that I would get, it was guaranteed money
Right.
and we can live paycheck to paycheck, but everything gets more expensive. So then one day I got tired of looking at the bills and having to push bills and ended up not being happy where I was at Scott and White. And then finally I was like, okay, I let's do it. Let's start selling egg rolls out of the house. And then from there, selling egg rolls out of the house, then getting a food truck. And yeah, here we are now.
Well, let me, because this is where for me, I think with your relationship where it gets interesting, because in the midst of all of these things that you're going through, in reference to while you're going through really this up and down in the field that you believe that you wanted, that this is really what you've been wanting to do, and the stress of that and not really feeling like this is it anymore, all of these up and downs that you're going through. The question that I'm thinking in my mind is, as the spouse, Rion, how are you dealing with it? And how are you dealing with it, or more so, how are you helping or supporting her through that process of what she was going through?
So specifically through the process of her becoming an entrepreneur, or just the process of going through?
Yeah, I would even say really before she stepped into the entrepreneurship, she was dealing with just the struggle of still working a regular 9 to 5 and
Yeah,
not really being, happy or excited really about that before she shifted into
right.
that entrepreneurship. So before, because I do want to talk about your supporting her in the entrepreneurship, but before then, where that support aspect while she was going through the emotional, I guess more so support for that.
Yeah.
How where were you? Were you able to help? Or was it a struggle at that point?
I mean, it was somewhat difficult from my standpoint, because as a at that point when she's talking more so about when she had gotten her medical assistant license and was trying to actually work as a medical assistant, kind of trying to find a job, and the difficulties of that. I had finished paramedic school at that time, so I was a paramedic at my most recent job, the one I just left,
Mm-hmm.
and with the difficulty, unfortunately, like she said, we were living paycheck to paycheck. So I was having to work overtime, which my base shifts were already 24 hours. So I was working 24 hours on, 48 hours off. And our son was born at the end of 2017. So we're really talking about 2018 right now, when it really culminated a newborn. I was working 24-hour shifts, off 2 days, and still running businesses. I was running two businesses at the time too. But essentially, I was still able to help. I guess let me skip to that part.
Right.
Even through all difficulty, just being available and attempting to get us out of the situation we were in, um, was help. There's only so much that I could do because I was only home for 2 days. I was gone a full day, and then on that first day when I got home, I slept for half of it because we probably didn't sleep while I was at work. But being available and present to be able to try to help with those financial struggles was the main part, and of course, being there as a husband was the other aspect as well,
Yeah.
and a father too.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, because here's what I want people to, those that are listening, those that are watching, I want you to hear this part, because this is the part where, to me, I think being able to see a grand picture of support for me is shown, because both of y'all at this point, before we talk and walk into y'all starting the business, both of y'all at this point are going after the thing that y'all have wanted to do. I mean, this is the area that you wanted to be in. This is the profession that you wanted to walk into, and now you're building what I would consider some form of momentum of working in that, doing what you got to do to kind of build in that field. And now this new dream, this new desire has popped in the midst of this, all of this, I would say, even in some sense, like chaos of
Yeah.
not really wanting to do this 9 to 5 no more. Some new things and just birthed out with this, got this beautiful, handsome son that's came, you working the hours that you're working, all of these things are happening. And in the middle of all of that comes this new dream and this desire. So how did y'all kind of like come together to say, okay, this is actually what we're gonna do. I got you. You go do that. I'm still hump and do this over here, and we'll work this. Like, what was the thought process going on in y'all in the behind the scenes?
Um, well, it was a lot. I don't even know where to start. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing was, like you said, it was really just chaos. I mean,
Right.
we were you can only work so much overtime. I mean, until it's like, what am I even doing this for?
Right.
And the thing is, my overtime was another 24-hour shift. It wasn't a 12. There are no 12 shifts. You have to do 24 hours. So you're working 48 hours, and then you're off for one day now because that extra overtime shift was one of the days when you'd be off, and you still have to go back and work your normal shift. So working 48 hours on, 24 hours off, and trying to do that cycle over and over. It's like, what's the point? And it's still at the end of it, you're just breaking even, and we weren't living beyond our means. I mean, we had a 1-bedroom apartment, 2 vehicles, nothing crazy, but we were still breaking even, even with me working overtime. So we pretty much got to a point where we're like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this isn't fun. This is the career I want to be in, but I'm not making enough money. Frankly, she's in the career field that she wants to be in. She's not making enough money. And I know she told you like a little while ago, she wanted to become a doctor, which is cool. But we had to sit down and look at the numbers. Okay, you're going to have to go to school. Being a doctor in 8 years will not help us right now. We need help now. So it was a matter of like, what can we do? And we just sat down and we're like, okay, life is hard, and it's going to be hard whether we do something that is very difficult, like starting a business right now, or if we do something that is safe as, working this job. And I don't mind working 48-hour shifts, but that's, I just don't want to. So we sat down one day and we're like, okay, after, of course, selling egg rolls out of the house, we started in 2020. We sat down and we're like, okay, I really think we should try to go for this. Let's see what we can do. Let's put our brains together. And, we were like, let's do it. We went for it. And she actually quit her job before we even started. I actually had our grand opening before we made $1, because I was like, and I had a conversation with her. I was like, you realize that we could lose everything. Like, literally, we could lose our cars. We could lose this house that we're living in. We could lose literally everything, all of our savings, anything that we had built up. We could lose it. We could go live with my mom if this doesn't work and have to start from the beginning. And she was like, I'm willing to do that. Okay. Well, if you're willing to do that, you understand the absolute worst risk, bankruptcy, whatever it is, you understand that. Go ahead and quit your job, because if we're going to start this business, we need to go all in. Like, why start a business if you're not going to, if you're not going to do it for real?
Yeah.
So, and it worked out. I mean, she quit, and then we started in March. And then
May. So after being open for 2 months, that's when he decided to leave his job as a paramedic, because it just became too crazy. And I mean, it wasn't really like, it was 2 months, but he actually took time off during those 2 months because we needed him to prep food or be on the truck to open, because it was crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So, but Jeanette, what made you, and I'll say it this way, what made you just dive? Like, because that's literally what it sounds like. You was like, all right, look, we're going to do this? All right, forget it. Here y'all go. Y'all keep this. I'm out of here. Like, what made you just dive in fully?
It was our son, really. So after having him, I obviously became a mom, but having that mindset of being a parent completely just changed my views on everything. Like, I have to build something. I have to be successful so that my son can be set up to be successful also. And growing up, I didn't need money because my mom had it, but we were also not able to. Sometimes I went without having something, which I understand. My mom did the best that she could. But I wanted to do better for my son. I had to do better for my son. So after I had him, not long after that, my mom actually ended up passing away after he was maybe about 3-4 months old. So after I lost her, I felt like I had to pursue this dream that I had to become a doctor, because she would always talk to her friends or anybody that she met and was like, my daughter's going to be a doctor and she's going to be successful. So I thought that I had to pursue that because it's what I thought I wanted to do. And that's what my mom would have wanted. But after that, it goes back to me, the emotional side of me, where I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. It wasn't working. It wasn't bringing in money. We did argue about our finances, and then we argued about the time that we had, but then we had to come to an understanding because we have to have a place to live and we have to pay our bills and everything like that.
Yeah.
So me realizing that I couldn't build something for my son and give my son more than what I had, I decided to just do something different. And I remember the last conversation I had with my mom was she just wanted me to be happy.